Welcome to Bodacious Estate Conversations, the podcast where we skip the polite small talk and get straight to the real story about handling a loved one's property. From unexpected challenges to the messy emotions nobody warns you about, I bring you unfiltered stories, practical advice, and clever shortcuts from people who've been there and the professionals who know the way. If you want honest answers, bold strategies, and the confidence to take control, you're in the right place. Here is your host, Casey King.
Thanks for tuning in on today's episode of Bodacious Estate Conversations. I'm excited to chat with our guest, who brings nearly 2 decades of business development experience and has been nationally recognized for his achievements with multiple President's Club awards. 2 years ago, he followed his lifelong passion for construction and home improvement to launch Revive Residential LLC, helping homeowners maximize profitability and marketability with selling their homes. Outside of work, he coaches youth wrestling and lacrosse, enjoys traveling and spending time outdoors with his wife and sons, and is active in his local community. Let's give a warm welcome to Keith Raynor. Thrilled to have you on Bodacious Estate Conversations, Keith.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here. Okay. Today, we're diving into the world of home renovations, how the right improvements can boost a home's value and make selling easier. Stay tuned until the end to hear how homeowners can get strategic upgrades with zero upfront cost before closing. All right, Keith, let's dig right into it. So, for homeowners looking to maximize their sale price, what upgrades should they focus on first?
So the biggest one that everybody wants to, seemingly jump to is always kitchen baths, right? Everybody wants to go into the house. They want to see the kitchens. They want to see the baths. Obviously, yard and things like that play a big thing into it. But believe it or not, that's not the biggest ROI for homeowners looking to maximize marketability and potentially value of their homes. Exterior improvements are one of the higher aspects that are going to drive that high ROI for the homeowner. Now, it's situational. If you have a homeowner that's really looking to just get rid of the home, go out there, some mulch down, do some things on the outside, some power wash, things like that. It's the outside aesthetics, right? It's the curb appeal that people look at and they're like, wow, this house pops. It jumps out. The first impression is key whenever, from an agent yourself, first impression is key. So having that curb appeal at least updated, cleaned up. I'm not saying you need a reside, re-roof, new shutters or shingles or anything like that. But fresh mulch, nice landscaping, take care of the exterior really does go a long way. Garage doors and front doors are two of the highest ROIs that homeowners can expect. And that is something that a lot of times buyers do kind of have a sense of, just a sense of comfort. It's a new door, it's a secure door, it's a new lock, it's a new home. Kind of gives not only that warm and fuzzy feeling, but also that welcoming feeling that, hey, it's a new door. You go through that garage, you go through that front door every day. You leave your home or you come home from your, wherever you are, whether it be work, school, sports, whatever it may be. So the outside, the exterior is one of the biggest ROIs that homeowners that are selling can focus on. I often recommend the kitchen and the bathrooms as well. We can talk about some of the packages that we at Revive offer. We have a couple of different packages, and they kind of tailor to the neighborhood, the home, everything along those lines. We would never make recommendations. In fact, we often will make recommendations, but more so we lean on recommendations from the homeowner's agent. We work very closely with the agents. We do not want to be in a position where we go into a seller and say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we can do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to raise the value of your home X%. When then all of a sudden the agent goes, no, 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 you're all. So we actually will not do that. So we will collaborate directly with the agent. We'll ask them to pull comps. We also pull comps in the area. We say, okay, let's compare and contrast. These are the areas that we think we can maximize the marketability and the value. When we look at value, so often people want to think about the monetary aspect. Hey, value is I'm getting 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 more for the home, which in an ideal scenario, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. But we also look at value as the time that it sits on market. If we can take a home from sitting on market from 30 days down to 6 to 7 days, that's a win. There's value there. Time is money, money is time. There's a lot of things involved with that. So we do make sure that we look at value from multiple aspects.
Yeah, time on market. I mean, it's been funny because our market here in South Central Pennsylvania for the past several years with COVID, and when the interest rates were really low, I mean, I could put a home on the market on a Friday and have 10 offers before Monday. It was insane. Today, I mean, that's a little different. So now we're seeing days on market ticking up, and if we can shorten that gap, I mean, that's just, them getting to their next step in their next season in life.
Absolutely. I mean, during COVID, I don't think that there were many times where agents had to put a sign in the ground before they were getting offers. I mean, literally, they'd hit the MLS, and within hours, it was a waiting line with offers, and the offers were above, no contingencies, no inspections, etc. We're current. I think everybody got a little bit spoiled during that time, so we're actually coming back into kind of a normal, if you will, maybe a little abnormal right now because I'm seeing it as well. Houses are sitting it a little bit longer. Some agents we worked with and they didn't use our services. Not saying if they did, it would have been any different. But they are seeing houses still on the market with less showing requests as well. It also is the time of the year. People are just getting back into school, kids are starting back into sports, after school activities, things like that. But anything that I think that you can do to differentiate your listing from anybody else in the area is huge. We just did a job down in the Westminster, Maryland area, and on the street that we were doing renovations at this home, there were 7 active listings. So we drove, obviously we drove around and we looked at all the houses and we did pick up a couple other opportunities to help sellers, a couple bathrooms, different things like that. But the home that we did had a beautiful deck. It was just aged. It was, 20 years old. It was starting to get a little bit unsafe. So we did a full demo of the deck. We did a complete rebuild of the deck. We did 2.5 bathrooms, so a master, an upstairs bathroom, and a half bath downstairs. And just to see the transformation from going from the original homeowners choosing colors, they were, purple and blue and kind of the bathroom colors from, or, 10 plus years ago, and we just went up with a straight white color scheme and a slight off white. And the homeowners came in and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this doesn't even look like the same bathroom. I don't feel like we're in the same space." Just the amount of light and the airiness in there and the cleanliness, not saying that it wasn't clean before, but it's just that fresh feeling that you get. And I think that's a lot of times when sellers they often overlook it. You can become kind of, I don't want to say complacent, but you're accustomed to what you're living in, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. But you look at it like, hey, this is mine. There's a sense of pride, there's a sense of joy in what you have, but oftentimes that may not resonate to the next person coming in. So by giving a fresh approach and a fresh feel, even if it's all white, white walls, white ceiling, semi-gloss trim, and a new vanity, new shower, new floor, and new toilet, of course, it's the wow factor. It's wow, this is nice, this is clean, and with it being white, we often recommend doing white paint because it's a clean slate. It's a clean palette. Anybody coming in can paint it whatever they want. If they want to paint it bright pink, they can paint it bright pink or dark blue, whatever they want to do. So that's oftentimes what we recommend when we do that. But yeah, it's great to see just the transformation occur kind of before your eyes, and then to see the sellers come in and there's almost a sense of hesitancy, like, hey, wait, this is new now. Do we really need to sell? So it's fun. It really is.
Yeah, I always think it's funny when I go into homeowners that are like, I'm consulting them, prepping the home for sale. I typically advise neutral colors, not only in, obviously the aesthetics, but even with their furniture when I'm like prepping it to stage the furniture so it's appropriate. And I love walking into the Raven fans' home that have the Raven purple all over the walls. It's like, I get it. That's your team. You want to support them, but let's mute it a little bit.
Yeah, good luck getting the Steelers or Steelers fan to come in there and buy it. They're gonna paint it right away, so you might as well just make it a clean slate.
Yeah, yeah, that's so funny. So when you talk about the ROI, so I always my state of mind, right? Like, okay, what are we going to do that'll maximize, but then also make sure that we get that return back for what we did. And I always think of what you said, mulch. That's like one because it's super easy, it's cheap, and you'll get that back right away. I also love like updating hardware on cabinets. Do you have any other like low dollar going into it to maximize that going out? Do you have any other tips like that?
Yeah, we did a job a couple of month ago, and went in and we had to do, it was all exterior. We did an exterior. It was a covered porch, beautiful porch. It was about 30 by 20, big covered porch, nice deck. The paint on the porch was painted, so we scraped it, power washed it, brand new paint. Then we transitioned on the inside and we started looking at the walls just in the home, and it was a vacant home at the time. And the walls, they didn't really need repainted. And we said to the homeowner, we said, look, the walls look great. You have a very neutral color here. But as we looked around, they had pets throughout the years and grandkids, et cetera, there. And we looked at the trim, and the trim was one of those things. And this is one that I often look at is trim when I go into a home. Trim around whether it's window casings, whether it's the floor trim around the doors, whatever it may be. Oftentimes, if you just go through and touch that trim up, clean that trim thoroughly, go back and paint it with a fresh, semi-gloss coat, it really does clean everything up. If you think about it, your walls come down, your floor is here, that trim sitting right there is collecting dust. Kids drag stuff along it, dogs, cats, they lean up against it, but over time it starts to wear down. So just a simple painting of the trim throughout the house from the common areas really does change the feel. It just, again, it kind of gives it that fresh feel. And anytime you put new paint down, you get that new fresh paint smell, and that always just kind of resonates in people's head to hey, this is clean, this is new. So mulch is definitely one on the outside. Power washing is a big one on the outside. Interior paint is always a big thing. If you have, again, non-neutral colors or your favorite sports team plastered on the wall, I would highly recommend go ahead and making that a neutral color. But the trim's another one. It's a very easy thing to do. We offer it, so it's something that one of our guys can come out. Typically, we can paint all the trim in about a day. Only thing we ask is that we just move all the furniture from the walls, and we go through and paint all the trim, and it really does make a big improvement. Same thing with light fixtures. If you have sconces or anything like that over top islands, kitchens, anywhere like that, you can pick up the replacement globes at Home Depot, Lowe's. They all carry them. Amazon carries a whole slew of them. Cheap, and you can buy a couple of them, change out the sconces. I would also recommend, matching your color of your light bulb itself, kind of the tone of the room. There's nothing worse when you walk into a room that's supposed to have a very comforting feel, but then it's got that super bright white LED kind of halogen style feel and hue to the light, and it just throws the whole feng shui of the room off. So I recommend, in your living spaces, doing a soft white, almost that yellowish type feel. If you have dimmer switches, when you get ready to show the house or have a showing come in, go ahead and dim the lights just a little bit. Make it that warm, comfort, cozy feeling in those areas. Now, of course, your kitchens, make it light, make it bright, make it airy because that's where you're prepping food. And we'll all be honest here. It doesn't matter if you have a huge kitchen or a small kitchen. Everybody conjugates in the chicken. Excuse me, the kitchen. So you want to make sure that that is a nicely lit and well presented area.
Yep, I totally agree with that. So earlier you mentioned you have packages. What would that look like for somebody that has like I have a listing coming up, which is why I'm asking this specific question. So the house itself is in good condition. They did it. They've had it well maintained. But in let's say they've got like a really bright colored carpet in the basement, and the light fixtures are from the 90s. So they're like, yeah, dated. We'll say it's dated.
It might come back. You never know. I see a lot of stuff come back around, so it might just be worth keeping it there. You might get big bucks from one day.
Yeah. So like, what would a package for a home like that look like?
So the packages that we offer, we keep it pretty simple. I try not to overcomplicate anything with anybody that we're working with, and I'll talk about this after I answer your question. So we have the complete revive, which is more of your full scale renovation. So that's gutting the kitchen, gutting the bathrooms, all new. The revive and refresh is typically our most common package because we're coming in and it's doing exactly that. We're reviving the house, we're refreshing the house. So to your point or to your question about the home that you have upcoming for the listing, the bright floors, LVP floor goes a long way nowadays. It's great because a lot of times, I like carpet in my living areas just because I feel like it's warm, it's comfortable, it kind of gives that cozy feel again. But if I'm selling a house, I'm definitely recommending LVP or LVT throughout. And especially in that area where if it's a 90s dated or dated basement, that's going to be more on the revive refresh, where that's just again simple updates, painting, new floor, updating the fixtures, things like that. The other package, the completely revive, is going to be more of we have a bathroom from the 1970s. We have a kitchen that has old laminate countertops, and or the tile countertops are always a favorite as well. That's going to be a little more extensive if we're looking at the value aspect and the marketability aspect. In those cases, I would say, okay, let's go ahead and do a new kitchen. One of the things that we don't recommend anytime that we're doing a complete revive is to change the footprint. We've had requests in the past where it's like, hey, we have this kitchen right now. We know it's 25 years old. We want to do this, but can we take this wall out and can we relocate the sink? We could. That's great. But again, I look at it from an expense standpoint from the seller. We can talk about more of the costs associated with our services a little bit later on, but it really doesn't make sense. You're selling the home. The home has value right now. What I would recommend is kind of like, and I hate to use this example, window replacements. I won't name any names, but there's a lot of companies out there that do same day window replacements. So they're just popping one out, popping a new one in. We kind of do the same thing with kitchens, to where we're going to give you a new kitchen, new countertop, new everything, all the way down to the plumbing, supply lines, etc. But we're not going to change or modify the footprint too much, because again, then it gets into just time. Our purpose here is to come in and do strategic renovations in a quick manner so you can get the house listed. Now, in the rare cases that we have an agent that comes in and they say, hey, look, we have a listing that's coming up in 6 months. I secured it. This is why it's going to be in 6 months. We may pump the brakes a little bit and say, okay, let's really look at this. Let's play with this a little bit more. Maybe now that we have sufficient time, can we come in and we can relocate? We can do some moving. Maybe we demo a wall here or there. But if we are pressed for time, we typically don't recommend doing that. We would keep the same footprint, just a complete update of everything that's in there.
Right on. That makes sense. So, how soon from the time the home goes on the market would you come in to do those renovations?
So ideally, we'd like to do it before it goes on market. So if you have any agents that have somebody calls and says, "Hey, Casey, you came highly recommended. We want to use you for our listing of our home." Great. When do you want to list your home? We'd like to list at the end of October. Perfect. We would like the phone call to happen from the agent pretty much same time. We can do a warm introduction between the agent, or the agent can do a warm introduction between the agent, the seller, and us. We go out, we do what we call a roof to road package. I should have said this in the beginning. So we have three packages, excuse me. What the roof to road package is a preliminary inspection. So this is not to be in place of your actual home, the buyer's inspection. We actually have a form that we have the homeowners sign, just stating that, just because we had people say, "Oh, no, we had a home inspection." Really not what it is. But what we do is we come through and we look at all the key points that an inspector is going to look at. So we get up on the roof, we look at the electrical, we look at the mechanicals, we look at everything from a grand, high level scope. And then we give a list to the seller and we say, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, these are the areas that we identified that could potentially come up on a buyer's inspection report. Again, buyer's inspections are becoming more prevalent now. We're getting that, more, I'll say normal market, if you will. So we try and get ahead of that. We're trying to be a little bit more proactive on that, so we can come through and we can address those items. All the while, we can go ahead and take into account, okay, we're going to update the paint, we're going to paint the trim, we're going to remulch the front yard, power wash, whatever else may be. But with the roof to road package, that is a complimentary. We come out, we do an assessment, we give you an evaluation from our perspective of what we see in the house, and then the homeowner can itemize and they can pick and choose what they'd like to do or what they would not like to do. And then from there, that kind of curtails into either the complete revive or the revive and refresh, whatever one we think's best to do for the project at hand.
Right on. I mean, it's a brilliant business model because it's so needed. There's so many homes. I don't know, like they are great. They could sell right away, but when a buyer is looking at it, they're like, "Ugh, I gotta take up this bright red carpet, or I gotta, it's like a kind of a to-do list that they're creating in their head when they're looking at it, and like, "I don't wanna do that. I just wanna move into my new house." So having your business come in to do that up front, you get a faster sale and potentially more money than what you would have if you put it on the market in its current condition. I think it's huge.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been growing. I mean, again, I started a couple years ago, and prior to that, we could talk about my history a little bit later on. But I just recognized there was a need for it, and I have a lot of friends and family that are in real estate as well. And just talking to them and kind of just bouncing ideas off, it was kind of an aha moment where it was like, hey, this is something that could be needed. And a lot of times, people have their handyman, John the handyman, Bill the handyman, whoever it is, which is great. Sometimes the husbands are the handyman. And it doesn't matter how long or how handy you are. Look, I'm a contractor. I have stuff that's at my house right now that I know I need to address, I need to take care of. But time gets in the way. I mean, I coach multiple sports. We're running pretty much every night of the week. Then weekends we're constantly running. Us, just a lot like a lot of other families out in the world and that do. So it's just a way for us to kind of come in and alleviate that feeling of like, oh my goodness, I have to do all these things before I sell my house. But on the flip side, like you mentioned, it's great for buyers coming in because they're like, hey, I don't have to do this. I just left all this. We just sold this, whether they lived in an apartment or this is their first home or their fifth home. There's always something that you're like, hey, I have to do this when I get here. But sometimes we can just take a little bit of that weight off. It's kind of that sigh of relief for everybody that's involved. The one thing that I will touch on as well, and this is something that we do, is we warranty all of our work for 1 year at minimum. So what we do is at the settlement table or when we wrap up a project and before the house sells, we're going to give the agent a folder. The folder pretty much specifies everything that we did to the house. They then give that to the buyers coming in. Once the buyers come in, we try and make contact, ask the buyer's agent, can we have their contact information? We do a 6-month follow-up with the buyer. At that time, it allows us to go back in and we just double check all the work that we've done. You know, a lot of times I look at contractors, and this is not everybody, but so often, you know, a contractor goes out, does work, you never hear from them again. With us, we try and keep that customer service approach. So we schedule a 6-month follow-up. We get back in, we visit with the new buyer. And oftentimes we go back in and the buyer's like, hey, everything's great. Everything that you've done was great. We really appreciate it. But now we are interested in doing more of a custom kitchen. Now we do want to go ahead and make the deck a little bit bigger. Hey, do you have anybody that can come out, update the mechanicals? We're doing X, Y, and Z. So it does give peace of mind to the buyers, both long-term as well, because they know that, hey, we're coming back in 6 months. They have our contact information. If anything goes wrong from the time they purchase to the time that we have that follow-up scheduled, they can call us. We're going to come out, check it out, make sure it's addressed. There's no additional cost to the buyer if anything, you know, that we've done was compromised for any reason. So I just wanted to make mention of that for anybody that's interested in our services in the future.
It's so smart. So what were you doing before you started Revive?
So directly before Revive, I was with a property management company based out of Baltimore, focusing on multifamily rentals. So I started the business. I didn't own the business. I started with a company, and day one, I literally walked in and there was a notebook, a computer, and a pencil and a pen and business cards. And they were like, go. So I was with them for about 6 years. And through the time we grew to about 2,000 units under management throughout the time that we were managing. And it was great. I focused on underwriting, capital improvements, and really just investment strategies for a plethora of different investors around the country. Really, we worked with some REITs, we worked with private syndications, private investors. So it was great to kind of work with all different aspects from more of a corporate level down to we had owners that were firefighters. We had owners that were just family oriented. And this was their business. They were just full-time property investors. And I learned a lot. I learned that I did not want to stay in that role. I wanted to start my own business. And it wasn't anything against anybody that I ever worked with. It was just the industry itself wasn't for me. There's a lot of moving parts. And anytime that you're dealing with 2,000 residents, 2,000 plus residents, plus a number of owners, plus, and everybody's leaning on you, it was kind of like I could never break away from work. I was always working on vacation. My phone was with me 24/7. I'm very family oriented. I'm very active within my son's sports, my son's school, the community. We do a lot with Boy Scouts. So it was just starting to really look at the work-life balance of it and say, okay, I want to make a change for something that I'm going to have a better work-life balance. But starting a business, you don't really get much better of a work-life balance either. So it's, you trade off one for the other. But it was a great opportunity. I learned a ton, and I've got to work with, all different aspects. I was working with, some days I'd be in boots and I'd be up on roofs, or I'd be down in crawl spaces. Other days I'd be helping hanging doors or do this or move people in. And other days I'd be in a suit and tie and I do presentations to potential investors coming into the area. So I did get to really wear a number of different hats in that role. So it was great. It was a great experience and very rewarding. And to see the company grow from zero, really me and one other employee, up to 20 employees over a course of a couple of years it was great to just see that all kind of come to fruition. We put a plan together and put it in action, and it came to fruition.
Oh, I love that. So you said Baltimore. Are you from Maryland?
I'm originally from Maryland, yes. So I
Mm.
grew up both in Hartford and Baltimore County. So spent my earlier part of my life in Hartford County, and lost my dad when I was 14 years old. So we relocated to Baltimore County, and I spent the rest of my childhood years growing up on the water. And I attended a private school down in Baltimore. And after high school, I went to Penn State. So I met my now wife at Penn State. So I did 5 years. I took a victory lap, as I like to call it. So I did the 5-year plan. I think I had a little bit too much fun at one or two football games throughout my undergrad years, but neither here nor there. So, but yeah, after Penn State, we moved to Florida. So my wife pursued her master's program down at University of South Florida, and we went down for what was supposed to be 2 years and ended up staying for 5 years. And after we got married and we were expecting our oldest son, we decided to relocate back up to the Maryland, Pennsylvania area. And my wife drugged me out of Florida. I didn't have to, but I sold my boat. We lived on the water, and literally I had like claws dug in, and she was probably can still see my finger marks coming up 95 from trying to crawl back. But we've been up here now for 10 years. And as much as I loved Florida and loved living in Florida, I'm an avid outdoorsman, love to fish, love to hunt, love to boat, hike, etc. As much as I love that, this is home. Very blessed to live where we live. We're close proximity to all of our family. I have family in Baltimore, down in that area, and she has family up in Harrisburg. So we're close enough to go visit, but far enough where we don't have the random drop-bys.
Yeah.
So it's great. So I love it. And I got into, to go back to your question, I know I went down kind of the history, but I followed my passion of getting into construction contracting, working with people for a couple of reasons. I thoroughly enjoy helping people. I love the fact of going in to be able to do something for a homeowner and them coming in and just seeing the expression on their face that, wow,
Mhm.
that just kind of deer in headlights. They just look around, and that first like 10 seconds where they stand there and they're just taking it all in, and you look at them and you're like, this is awesome. I did this. Me and my
Mhm.
team, we did this. And it's something very gratifying about that. And it's humbling at the same time, but it also just, it's seeing the expression again. It's just, that's very special to me. That started from, my family. My grandfather is first generation off the boat from Italy, dropped out of school at 8th grade. He was a mason starting in 8th grade. He is one of, I think 15, and he was the baby. So all of his brothers and sisters growing up, they all got into some kind of trade, and he started being a mason in 8th grade, and from there he developed a business, and he was a custom home builder for many years. Did a lot of work in Hartford County, Southern PA, and so growing up, that was my summer job. If I was at Grandma and Pop's, a lot of times we were jumping in the truck with my grandfather, me, my cousins, and we'd go work for the day. And it was nothing, we never had the easy work. It was cleaning up, hauling bags of cement, carry this plywood, carry this drywall. He gave us all the heavy stuff. And then at the end of the day, it was nice enough to let us sweep all the mess up and clean it all up. But it instilled a sense of work ethic and just pride at a young age. And that was something that I've tried to hold on to. And my grandfather right now is 90 years old, and currently they are building a brand new 2-car garage in his driveway. My uncle's also a custom home builder, so my uncle's actually doing that. My cousin owns a roofing company. He's doing the roof, and we're going down to do the interior finishes. So we've managed to all have our own businesses, but all work together in some collaboratory kind of way. And it's just been, it's been neat to kind of fall back into the roots of what I grew up around. My dad, prior to his passing, was a mechanic. I love working with my hands, and from a young age, I was a kid that would run around the house, and I would literally take doorknobs off one door and I would go move them to another door, just because I like taking the doorknobs off and putting them back together, because it was like, hey, I'm doing with dad and pop and everybody else doing work with my hands. So it started young, and I'll never forget. I used to spend a lot of time with my grandparents. We all lived very close. I could ride my bike to everybody's house, but we lived pretty rural. And my grandmother, she was the stay at home, the ideal grandmother. She was the best. We just lost her a couple of months ago, and she was just the rock of the family. But one of the things that I always remember, she always had a big, one of the long yellow legal pads. And anytime anybody would call, because, years ago, there was no cell phones, no text messages. So they'd call the house and, hey, Debbie, is Jim home? And no, he's not home. So she'd scratch down a message. And at the end of the day, Pop would come home and she'd slide the notepad across the kitchen table. And he'd kind of look at it in his office downstairs and he'd say, all right, I'll get to it later. So we would be eating dinner and typically 5:30 or so. And it was inevitable pretty much every day, multiple phone calls, other contractors, subcontractors getting off work. They wanted to call Jim, who was my grandfather. And, just, hey, this is what we did. What do you got tomorrow? Whatever. And I'll never forget. And she did it all the time. And it cracked me up. We'd be eating dinner and my grandmother would answer the phone. Hello. And it'd be Bob the plumber. And she'd be like, hold on, Bob. I don't know if he's home. And she wouldn't put the phone down or hide it or anything. She'd just go, hey, Jimmy, it's Bob. Are you home? No, I'm not home. Bob, he's not home right now. He'll have to call you back later. And hang on. And everybody knew that the person on the other line of the phone could hear exactly him say no, her say okay, and then say, nope, she's not here. So she was the gatekeeper of all gatekeepers. But so we always joked with whenever we would call and be like, hey, is Pop home? And she'd be like, no, he's not home. We're like, Grandma, is he really home? Or are you just saying that? And she'd be like, no, he's really not home. I would never do that to you kids. So it was, but yeah, we had a lot of fun growing up, just being in the environment, going to job sites. And, I used to love sitting around at lunchtime and just hearing stories and guys, the banter and cutting it up and all that stuff. So to be back involved with all that, it's special. It's not just something that I'm passionate about from a career standpoint, but also very personally.
Yeah, 100%. I am the daughter of a self-employed drywall hanger, so I also have young memories, which is funny because at the time when you're doing it as a young child, like hauling the scrap pieces to the dumpster, you're like, is this really what I want to be doing? But now looking back as an adult, like thank goodness our parents did that. Like it really gave us the work ethic that we have today. I think of them as fond memories now looking back.
Yeah. I coach a number of sports and I've been fortunate enough to coach some of the kids that I coach now as older brothers. And I tell everybody, I'm like, hey, if your son's looking for some extra cash during the summer, I'm happy to pick them up, take them to a job site. They can work with us for a day. Not only just for the fact to get kids involved in working with their hands, because I think that is very important. I think it's just an important part of just creating some sort of work ethic in young adult or young humans. But also just to learn something new. A lot of times, there's a lot of kids that are exposed to, how to properly paint. How do you sand a drywall patch? How do you do a drywall patch? How do you wire an outlet? It's kind of like changing a car. Before I started driving, I learned to drive a stick. And many people don't know how to drive a stick. I had to be able to drive a stick, change the tire, and know how to change the oil in my car before I started driving. And I can do that now. And I nothing against anybody that's been stranded on the side of the road and have to wait for somebody to come change a tire. But I'm like, there are things that if you learn at a young age, and I know there's a lot of people that may not have been, and they may not have had that opportunity, but if I can help somebody younger and teach them just a little thing that they can carry on or just keep building on, that's a win all the way around. So it's, yeah, but I look back as core memories, sometimes painful, poor memories to, be like, God, man, my back hurts, my hands are bleeding, whatever it is. But no, it made us who we are today. So I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I know you do a lot of coaching too, for your boys. You talked about that. So what does a typical like day in the life look like between your business and trying to juggle coaching and sports?
It depends the time of the year. So, well, this year I'm coaching flag football as well, which is easy. It's 1 day a week, and it's a great program. It's for 6 to 8 year olds. It's sponsored by the NFL. It's a fantastic program. So that's an easy one. My big passion is coaching wrestling. I was a very competitive wrestler growing up, from the time that I was little all the way up through high school and multiple teams, and it was great. So that's very busy. We start our season in November. That's 5 nights a week plus pretty much every weekend from November till February. So it's busy. The big thing is just the time management. We have a calendar that we kind of, I hate to say live and die by, but we have a calendar that everything goes on it, and everybody's certain activities are color coded. Everybody has their own color, so we can look at it and see what's going on. But it's I prioritize that aspect of my life. I do prioritize being able to make it to practices, games. I had an old mentor, I say an old mentor, but a prior mentor. And he said, I've never missed any of my kids' school plays, recitals, parents at school day, anything like that. So I made a commitment to myself that I'll never do that either. I will never miss, unless there's something that's out of my control, any of my kids' activities. And why I'm able to do that is we work, and we work hard. We show up and we start early in the morning, and we want to get the jobs done as quickly and as effectively as possible. We're not going to rush. We're going to do it the right way the first time, because if we do it the wrong way the first time, then we have to come back, and that's more time.
Again, yeah.
Yeah. So, but a day in life is, we're up early. My oldest son, he is up every morning by 6 a.m. No alarm. Doesn't matter if he goes to bed at midnight, 2 a.m. He is wide awake at 6 a.m. His feet hit the ground, and he is just all go. So we're up early in my house. So it gives us a chance to get up, get the day started. If I'm out the door, I'm out the door around the same time, try and get back at a decent time. And then it's straight to quick bite to eat, straight to practice, come back home, maybe a second dinner depending on the day, and then get back up and do it all over again. So it is busy, but honestly, I don't know what I would do with downtime. I'm a very active person, so when I am down, even if we have like a light weekend where there's nothing going on, I find a project at the house. I have a very hard time sitting down and actually like relaxing. That's usually like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm the type of person that can start a movie at 10 o'clock. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's watch this 2-hour movie at 10 o'clock when I should be sleeping. So maybe I'm a little backwards, but no, it works for me. So I do enjoy it.
Yeah, that's funny. My husband's the same way. He can't sit still. Uh, yeah, if he has like a long weekend, maybe there's a holiday, so the plant's down and he's at home, he's doing the same thing, looking for projects. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's too funny.
it's never ending. But it's good though. I mean, I don't know what I would do if I had a bunch of free time, honestly. And I look at it as, one day my kids, I won't coach my kids forever. So once they hit to, junior high school level, I'll certainly help out, but I'm going to enjoy it while I can and kind of prioritize that while I can. So it's been fortunate to be able to do it with Revive. And as we get busier, we bring more crews on. We have a number of crews that we work with. Everybody that I work with, I have long-standing relationships with. I also vet all of my vendors out on a quarterly basis. So one of the things that I do for my electricians, my HVAC guys, I get updated pricing from them on a quarterly basis, just to make sure I'm holding everybody, making everybody honest. You know what I mean? The last thing I want is for a homeowner to feel like, hey, we're coming in, our prices are high, our HVAC's high. One thing that I will mention with all of our services, if we do contract, given that we have a model and we have a successful model, knock on wood so far, I do not use a brother's, friend's, cousin's, husband's, nephew to do any of the work. So we do keep it all within the professional services. Just one for insurance. I want to make sure everybody is properly covered, protection for both my subcontractors and also the seller. So we do keep everything kind of under our umbrella of who we'll use for projects. But outside of that, if you say, hey, no, we're going to take care of the landscaping, that's completely up to you. That makes no difference to me. But anything that we do contract with, we do try and keep it under our umbrella.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, with all the insurance updates coming out past couple years, yeah, it's important to keep everything. Yeah,
It's one of those
for
things
sure.
where it's like, I won't bash insurance, but quick story. I was driving up 83 the other day, and a tractor trailer tire blew up and hit the front of my truck and blew out the headlight. So I called my insurance company and I said, hey, I want to put a claim in. And they said, well, what happened? I told them what happened. They're like, well, this may be classed as comprehensive. This may be collision. And if it's one, you have a deductible. And if it's the other, you don't have a deductible. I said, well, how do I know this? They said, well, we have to file the claim first. And I said, well, if I file a claim, are you going to be able to tell me, and can I revoke the claim then? Nope. Once the claim's in, we can cancel the claim, but it's still going to show as a claim. And I'm like, I'm paying you every month for these type of situations. I shouldn't be penalized. So yeah, down the insurance hole. It's insurance is fun. So I do want to make sure that everybody that steps foot onto any jobs that we're on has adequate insurance. Again, protection for the homeowner, protection for the agent, protection for me. It just protects everybody involved in the unlikelihood that something were to happen.
Yep, absolutely. How old are your sons?
My sons are 10 and 8.
Oh,
So
what great years.
yeah, they're great. They're starting to get a little bit of sense of independence sometimes. So it's They like to push the boundaries just a little bit, but it's good. I wouldn't change
Yeah.
it for world.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you kind of not modify, but you prioritize going into their activities and making them part of your day. It's not that often in today's day and age where parents have the ability to do that. Work at a 9 to 5 or a corporate job. You don't always have that luxury. So I think that's huge. Starting your own business with that priority in mind.
That was one of the driving factors, to be honest. It's I've always had a autonomous career. So prior roles, I've always, worked remote, had a very relatively autonomous career, but it was just being bound by, the technology, to be honest with you. I felt like every second of my day was literally like, what email, what text message, what email, what this, what that, what conference call. And it just got to the point where I was enough. Enough was enough. And I'm still on the phone a lot. And don't get me wrong, the emails haven't stopped. But now I can prioritize when I need to respond to them. And I try to respond in a very timely manner. If you call or email, I respond back to it in the same day, or if not the next morning, depending on the time of day. But yeah, it just got to one of those situations where I really was just tired of being bound to answering for somebody else. And it was an opportunity where I said, hey, we developed this model and we kind of looked at it for a while. And him and hawed, and I was on the fence, and I had a sit down with the mentor that I work with. And he's like, Keith, do you believe in it? And I said, I believe in it 100%. He said, then do it. He said, but if you ever don't believe it, don't do it. But he said, if you believe it, do it. And I said, great, let's do it. So I took the leap, and right now we're soaring. So I anything can change at any given time, but it's been a fulfilling, stressful, chaotic, scary, elating. I could keep going on with all the different words to kind of describe it, but it's been the biggest thing. I'm grateful, and it's been a blessing.
Yeah. So obviously your model is to prep homes for sale, but if somebody just needed some work done, would you be available for that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're getting ready to do a basement in about 2 weeks, and the families lived there for about 25 years. Now they have grandkids, and the house is staying the same size, but the grandkids are getting bigger. So they have this great downstairs basement area that's unfinished. So we're going to go through and finish the basement out for them and make it more of a hangout space for the older grandkids. A place for them to go ahead and when they have holidays, celebrate Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever it may be. Everybody's not kind of in that room upstairs. Now it gives people a chance to kind of spread out. So we do a lot of that. Same thing with kitchens and baths. We've done a few kitchens and baths this year where people just wanted to stay. And that is equally fun for me, because when we get into the revive, whether it's the completely revive or the revive and refresh, we try and stay away from too many options. One of the things that we found is if I go in with, we use a couple of different cabinet lines. There's a great cabinet line we use out of Baltimore called Vita. Fantastic product, locally made. I can get them pretty much the next day. They're very, very well made cabinets. Highly recommend them. But we use a number of different other cabinet manufacturers as well. What we found in the early days with Revive, if we went in and we're like, okay, we have this line, this color, it's way overwhelming. Everybody's like, whoa, we're trying to sell, and now the wife wants this color, the husband wants this color, then the kids are chiming in the background, and it just snowballs into this like, oh my God, what can of worms do we open, right? So on the revive side, so whether it's the complete revive or the revive and refresh, we try and keep it very standard. We give 3 options on colors. There's a white, there's a gray, and there's a wood. Cabinet or countertop choices, there's a little bit more play with that, but we're going to make recommendations. We have 3 that we oftentimes match very well with. They kind of interchange between all 3. So we try and keep everything to 3. Same thing with paint. We can do like a very, very light gray, even though that's kind of tapering out of I guess the style now. White, and really they're the 2 colors that we choose. Semi-gloss white, extra white, or super white on the trim and the doors, and the ceilings are white as well. So we try and keep things in that aspect very simple, because again, the sellers have a lot going through their mind. Is the house going to appraise? What improvements do we have to do to the house to make sure it appraises, make sure we get the showings? We have to pack, we have to change school districts potentially, we have to worry about our utilities. There's so many things going on in the seller's mind the last thing that you want to do is overwhelm them with more options, right? So we try and simplify that and keep it very simplistic across the board. Hey, these are the options. We've worked with your agent. Let's all get our heads together. This is what we feel is going to be best based on the comps in the market, the area that the home is in. Great. We go ahead and execute from there. On the flip side, if we're not doing it for anybody selling, then it's fine. Then it's okay, cool. Let's get funky. Let's go ahead and look at different backsplashes. You want to do this type of floor, we can special order the floor. You want to do more of a custom kitchen. So great. Let's go ahead and do a custom kitchen. Let's go ahead and blow these walls out. Let's relocate the sink from here to here. Let's eliminate this door. Let's add, there's a lot more flexibility. Not saying it's any less stressful when the person making all the choices. But it just does, I get to see it from both ends, right? So it makes it really enjoyable from that standpoint to be able to work with people to help them accomplish the goal. And the goal being, hey, we want to sell our house to maximize marketability and value and get into our next home. But at the same time, I get to work with people that say, hey, we've been here for 10 plus years. Now we want to make this our forever home. We want to make this our dream kitchen, our dream basement. We want to go ahead and make it the Baltimore Ravens lounge down here with the wet bar, with the Ravens logo on the ceiling, whatever it may be. We did a project for a card collectible store. So the gentleman, he buys and sells trading cards. So anything from baseball cards, Pokemon cards. The business is called House of Breaks. So anybody that has kids, grandkids, highly recommend going to see Tim at House of Breaks. But we did a cool project for him. He wanted these slat walls on the wall, a black ceiling. We did these inlay on the drop ceiling of these inlay lights that go all around the drop ceiling, so it kind of illuminates the ceiling. And it was a really fun project to do for somebody that's a little bit different, not a home, it was a business, but just to have creativity and to bounce ideas off. And we came up with a butcher block break table, as they call it, where you can open your cards, and he's got mats on it, so you can look to see if you got Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or whoever it is that you're looking for in your deck of cards. But that was a really fun one because it was kind of out of our wheelhouse. And we sat down and we walked in and it was just this empty space. And we're like, all right, let's get creative. And we started coming up with different ideas and bouncing stuff off. And now he's doing great. And the store is just something really interesting. So it's highly recommend going. Again, it's House of Breaks, and Tim's the owner. So definitely check it out if anybody's over that way.
Very cool. So if anybody wanted to reach out, whether it was a homeowner or a real estate agent prepping their home for sale or just wanting to look at doing renovations in general, how could they contact you?
So you can reach me on my cell phone. My number is 443-570-4478. Or you can email us. If you go to our website, it's www.reviveresidential.co. So no M. Everybody wants to put the M. That's going to take you somewhere else. So .co, reviveresidential.co. So we are actively working to be able to add the M. It just was not available at the time when we created our website a couple years ago. So fingers crossed we can get that soon. But reviveresidential.co. On our website, we do have an ROI statistic page. So anybody that's looking, whether it's an agent or somebody that's looking to sell their home, you can kind of explore that. You can also explore our services as far as what services we offer. Get a little bit more detailed as far as the roof to road package, the revive and refresh, the complete revive. We also have a home maintenance program that we will be rolling out at the start of 2026. So the purpose of this program is to be able to do quarterly or every 6-month checkups on homes. So oftentimes, again, with everybody's busy schedule, very difficult to, remember to check your HVAC filters, to check this, to change out the filters in your refrigerator, to clean the screens, in the washing machine, to go ahead and check the dishwasher, check the mechanicals, just make sure they're operating correctly. So what this program is designed to do is to go into homes every quarter, every 6 months, and just create a report for the homeowner and say, okay, Bob, Sally, we came through, all your mechanicals are up to date. We do recommend doing a service on the HVAC. We can schedule that for you. It's a system of checks and balances. Everybody's busy. You hit the nail on the head earlier, Casey, when you said, a lot of people have 9-to-5 corporate career jobs. They're running all day. Then they have to come home. They have to get their kids to sports. The weekend, especially if your kids play travel sports, you're running nonstop. Your time to be able to focus on some of the, key components of home ownership is minimal. So this program is developed for those people that want to be able to take advantage of it, where they can say, hey, I don't have to worry about making sure the HVAC's filter is changed. I don't have to make sure or worry about making sure the batteries are updated in the smoke detector, et cetera, et cetera. We have a very long list that we provide. So that is something that will be rolled out in 2026. Also on the website, we have an about us, gives a little bit of brief about Revive. And then also there's something for the agents and anybody that's interested in partnering with us, potentially being a vendor. Would love to, have you out, talk to you. So there is a form on there that you can fill out to be involved with Revive, have you as one of our subcontractors for upcoming projects as well.
Wow. I mean, it's really brilliant, and I can't say it enough. Like, a lot of my clients are executors, that just inherited property, and they wanna maximize, obviously, what the estate can obtain from the sale of real estate, and this is just such a great way, especially if those executors aren't local to the area. It's just a great way to have put boots on the ground and maximize, what's going to be returned to the heirs. So, thanks so much, Keith. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and to that point, Case, I'll just share this one last tidbit. A lot of times you kind of nailed it right there with executors. And, during that time, it's a trying time for a lot of people involved, whether you're relocating a loved one family member to whether it's a assisted living facility or worst case that somebody's passed on, and now you're dealing with everything that's going on with that. And then you have the asset, right? You have the house.
Mhm.
What do we do with this house? Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and put it in a state. We're going to go ahead and sell the house. Maybe there's debt on the house. Maybe there's things on the house. Maybe the family, that was their inheritance, and they want to just, sell the house so they can, move on and close that chapter of life. In some cases, not the best thing. One of the things that we do offer with Revive is in-house financing. So for anybody that's looking to sell their home, we will finance the project 100% prior to the sale of the home, and then we do get paid out at settlement by the title company. The way that works is we do have one qualifier. It's a very, very difficult qualifier. I'm just kidding. You just have to have sufficient equity in the home. So what we do is we would go through, whether it's the Revive and Refresh or Complete Revive, especially for those that are in an estate situation, they want to get the most out of the home. But a lot of times, trying to pull funds together from various siblings could be very difficult. Everybody's family dynamics a little bit different. You may have somebody that's very able to do it, somebody that's not able to do it, and then it kind of creates contention. Well, you know what? We're not going to do anything with this then. We're just going to sell it as is. And, you're leaving a lot of potential value on the table. So one of the things that we will do is we'll come through based on the scope of work. We'll provide that to the seller at that time, whether it's an estate or just a normal home sale process. And we will offer financing as long as there's sufficient equity in the home to cover the cost of repairs or improvements for that home. So that is something that we offer. So again, not to say that we try and be a one-stop shop for everybody, but we try and make this a very simplistic process. We don't do credit checks. We don't put liens on houses. We don't do anything like that. It's a very simple document. All parties authorize it. It's just stating that we're going to do these improvements. You're agreeing to pay us at the end of the process when the house sells. So try and keep everything very transparent, very very hassle free, and just make it a smooth process for everybody involved: the agents, the sellers, the buyers, our team, and we hope to have the opportunity to work with everybody.
Yep, I love that. That is my business model, making home sales hassle-free, and this is just another, tool to make that happen. So amazing. Thank you so much, Keith.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the time and thank you. And looking forward to continue to work with you, Casey, and anybody else that may have the opportunity to listen in or watch this. Thank you, and hope to hear from you soon.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up another episode of Bodacious Estate Conversations. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with more great stories and tips soon. Bye.
Bodacious Estate Conversations isn't just chatter, it's about learning, taking action, and finding solutions that actually work. If today's episode resonated, share your thoughts, subscribe, leave a review, and pass it along to someone who could use a hand. More stories, smart strategies, and practical guidance are coming in the next episode. Don't miss it.